Okay, everybody, last round. Ding, ding, ding. Welcome back. Last set, make it your best. You're listening to the
I'm ready.
Entrepreneurial Web. I'm ready. I'm ready. I want to start doing some rolls on this mat, man. So again, here with my guest, Professor Karel Pravec of Silver Fox Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Northern New Jersey. I wanted to ask you something. Have you ever competed?
Yes.
You did.
Yes. I didn't compete. I didn't compete till I became a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is a
Oh,
big
wow.
mistake.
Yeah, that's
Because
crazy.
yeah, I didn't want to do it, but basically, because I think I was scared of it, so I wanted to do it because of that. But I really didn't want to do it
Yeah.
because by then when I started competing, I was teaching part-time and I was still working in finance. So I was extremely busy, and I was by then in my early mid 40s, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to compete. For me, it was like, what for?
Right.
And I didn't realize like my game was just not. My game was technically very good, but my biggest problem was I didn't account for strategies, tactics, weight, just
Rule
all the
sets and all
rule
that.
sets, all
Yeah.
this other stuff. Basically, when I went into competition, I would just try to submit the guy, which there's a lot more to it than just that. So I did a bunch of IBJJF events, and I would only compete, once or twice a year, whereas the guys I would compete against would compete,
Right.
10, 15, 20 times a year. And a lot of them were black belts that were competing since they were white or blue belts. And I realized that technically you could be better, but you could still lose. But I won, I competed some tournaments in Masters, which is over 30 and up. And, they have different categories past 30. And I competed some in adults, and sort of probably the two best medals or tournaments I won NAGA, North American Grappling Association, 2007 World Championship. I beat everybody by submission. And what they did was Masters bracket, but they combined all of them together. So I was the lightest guy in the whole division.
Right.
And the big one was I won. I took bronze, third place in I think 2008 Nogi Pan Ams adult black belts. So no, not Masters, but I competed against Cabrinha in that tournament in the semifinals. So it was. Those are probably my two best. Like I said, I won a couple of, maybe 4 or 5 medals, maybe 6, but I didn't really, that was not my focus. I just did it to just do it, know how it feels. And I realized some of the mistakes I made. Like I said, I just went in to submit that, the lessons I learned, I can, obviously I know how my guys feel when they go in, everybody deals with the stress of competition differently, so it taught me quite a lot. I probably competed maybe total 15 times.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I know you have competitors at your school. Like Sun Dojo is non-competition. I have no aspirations to compete. It's just
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, exactly. But I heard you talking about some of your students, and you have guys that are actually MMA fighters and guys that are in. I was just curious because I never heard you talk about it, but I just
because I don't think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of schools or they sometimes will change the way the school is run to basically kiss ass of the guys that are at the top of the food chain.
Right.
And I don't believe that's what martial arts are about, and that's how. What Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is ultimately about. And I also, people say, well, if you didn't ever, feel the stress of competition, how could you defend yourself? Well, here's the reality. If you were competing, you might literally have psyched yourself out of winning a match or a few matches. And I fought in some karate tournaments, back in the 90s too. So you might literally psych yourself out of winning, because you've been literally you can't sleep. You just can't mentally deal with that stress. Well, it's self-defense. Usually there is no forethought. Right. It's like it's on, and how do you react? It's autopilot. So anybody that says like you really need competition to be effective in self-defense, I think they're just as about delusional as any,
Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
I would tell them to go open their own business and then come back and talk to me in a couple of years. That being said, what adjustments have you made? And we have about 5 minutes left. I want to get like in the nitty gritty of the business aspect now. Have you made, and what are you looking for going forward, like most immediately, for getting the school back open, dealing with like state regulation and government regulation?
Well, that's an interesting question because I really, what we've done is offer a lot of online classes, Zoom, that a lot of my instructors are the guys, the black belts under me that teach. And I've taught a class every single day since I shut the school down. What we're looking for is to get some guidance. And I think, the government really has, first of all, I'm a logical person. I want to listen to science. I want to listen to reason. I want to look at numbers. I look at statistics literally every single day. Particularly, I pay attention to the states and countries that have opened up. And when I mean by open up fully, I mean they allow contact of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu kind. That's what I mean. So I literally pay attention.
That is the qualifier across the world now. Yeah. If you allow contact Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
you're fully open. So, and yeah, you may have a one-day spike. You have to look at a trend line. Is the trend line up? If the trend line is up, that's very concerning. The trend line in all of them is either down or flat. Yeah, you may have it makes headlines. Oh, the single biggest new cases. And I don't pay attention to cases as much as deaths. To me, that's more important because as testing becomes more available, you're going to have rising cases. So long story short, the one thing that was pretty clear, both scientifically, anecdotally, was that fresh air, sunlight is good for you. Yet the governor of my great state of New Jersey banned people from being outside and closed the state parks for about two or 3 months. Yet the guy claims that he's listening to science and he's not going to be swayed by people barraging him with open up now and all this. And I get it. That's a valid statement. But in 1918 flu epidemic, it's a proven fact that the patients that wind up with the flu, and I know this is not a flu, but it's a proven fact. And everybody, all the scientists from day one, first of all, logically, the virus will dissipate more quickly in air and then in enclosed area. Yeah. Vitamin D is beneficial for this. This was said from day one. Why would you close? And how easy is it to maintain social distancing in a park versus on the street or in a store? You also give people something to do. Being outside, it's good for the mental health. So basically what I'm saying, right now in New Jersey, we're in stage one, where gatherings of 500 people outdoors is permitted. Really? Yet there is, yes. Do you, what you see outside, do you see people there's social distancing, there's people going through the motions and people actually doing it. Are people doing it? At least in New Jersey, they're not. People are going through the motions, and that includes the most vulnerable ones. In New Jersey, I think 43% or something like that of the deaths were in nursing homes. That's where the government should have really focused their efforts in. And I think New York, they had some very egregious problems with that as well, as in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So the government, instead of focusing across, should have focused on the weakest ones. We had field hospitals where people were sent back to nursing homes, instead where they were not acute enough to go into ICUs, but they sent them back to nursing homes instead of sending. I think the government had huge failures in leadership. I continue to see it. I'm not, pointing out just to my state, but I think that people are starting to just go through the motions. And if people are going through the motions, it means that the leadership isn't effective. Either you're not conveying the message well enough, or you're not leading appropriately. So at some point, I think people are starting to take things into their own hand. And you already see it in social distancing. You're either not getting the message across adequately, or your leadership is inadequate. I leave it up to the leadership to figure out which one they are. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to wrap up. I want to thank you again so much. It was really a pleasure for me to get to meet you, at least digitally. Hopefully one day we'll get to do it live in the flesh. We'll bring the Foxes together.
Sounds like a good plan.
but everybody can find you basically Silver Fox BJJ on
.com.
all channels.
SilverFoxBJJ.com. If you just SilverFoxBJJ.com, you will reach you can find anything.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good luck with the reopen. I hope everybody stays safe, but I hope we all get to get back to this. It's our passion, our love, it's our lifeblood, and the world needs it. So keep up all the excellent work. Look forward to talking to you soon. I'd love to catch up in like a month or so once things
Absolutely. I'd be happy
to see how things are going. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Have a great weekend. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Peace out.
Thank you.